Usually the music is provided, as it is this year, by volunteer musicians. We play folk songs mostly. If this interests anyone, Drew Koch is coming back to play with the band this year, so, you know, that's fun. And, yeah, so I'd love to see you guys, 7:30. That is it for us for Holy Week this year. So, today is Palm Sunday, and Palm Sunday carries more and more weight every year because Holy Week is so lightly attended, not just at this church, but elsewhere as well. Palm Sunday is traditionally the day when Jesus and the disciples parade into Jerusalem at the beginning of Passover. It is a day of celebration with the understanding that a lot of bad stuff is about to go down. This service, this kind of service that we do, is actually often referred to as a Palm Passion Sunday, where we talk a little bit about the bad stuff that goes down. And just, you know, morning, that's what we're doing. So let's take a moment to think about those times when we have been able to celebrate even in a world of chaos. Now please turn to your red hymnal, number 155, All Glory, Loud, and Honor. Of our covenant, written in your order of service. In the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and the service of all.
Chapter 11, verses 1 through 11. When they were approaching Jerusalem, at Bethphage and Bethany, near the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find there tied a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' just say, 'Jesus needs it,' and we'll send it back here immediately." They went away and found a colt tied near a door, outside in the street. As they were untying it, some of the bystanders said to them, "What are you doing untying the colt?" They told them what Jesus had said, and they allowed them to take it. Then they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on it, and he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, and others spread leafy branches that they had cut in the fields. Then those who went ahead and those who were following were shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of God. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Hosanna in the highest heaven." Then he entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. And when he had looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12.
Our next reading is from Weems, called We All Have Courtyards. We all have courtyards, those times and places we face, like Peter, when we must decide to stand up and say whether we know him or not. Those crossroads in our lives, when we go along with things as they are, or we say, as Luther did, "Here I stand, I can do no other." We all have courtyards. Lent is the time to prepare for our courtyards, the time to listen to who he says he is. And he did, you know. He did tell us who he is. He is that one who brings good news to the poor, freedom to the oppressed, sight to the blind, that holy one who said, "Follow me, feed my sheep."
Let us now take a moment in silent prayer to pray for those in need of our prayers today. Prayer today is by the Unitarian Universalist minister George Kimmick Beach. Everything begins on the verge of awareness. The dawn is not, and then is. Sleep is, and then is not. In between is the awakening. The passage of thin light between breaks open the day. Passage of thin sound between flows into the day. Too soon the numbing rumble of traffic swells and the day glares. Time is ever out of mind. Too late we learn, too little let in, too seldom rise with the dawn. We want to let go our hard sleep, our long labor. Let the soft haze hang again across the brow of morning. Wait upon the narrow moment, the first awareness of being in between. Live days and seasons on the thin edge of dawn in praise that every single thing begins now. Now, as Jesus taught us, let us pray. Parent God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Next reading is from Weems. We've already heard from today. Weems is a liturgical poet who is well aware of the struggle to fit both the palms and the passion into the same worship service. So this is her Palm Sunday poem called Hosanna to Horror, the Only Road to Easter. Balloons, maybe. If Jesus were coming here, maybe we'd line up on either side of his parade route and wave balloons as he passed. Back and forth, a multitude of colors. And we'd probably shout, "Yeah," instead of Hosanna. And we'd hold up homemade posters saying, "Welcome Jesus," as he passed by. Probably one of those bubble top cars, because the FBI would not want to be left out of this one. On the other hand, maybe he'd refuse and ride that donkey after all. Or maybe even walk down the middle of the road with balloons bobbing as he walked. He'd wave to us and bless us, and we'd follow and follow and follow. What a celebration. What a festival of faith that would be. And when the parade passed by, we'd finally go home and look forward to the celebration next Sunday. But what about Holy Week? The days lengthen, the pear tree flowers white outside my kitchen window, in the mysterious Lenten mix of lament and hope, the taunting, blood-spattered face of war screams into our lives, and we are tempted to despair. The TV bleeds and explodes, and the unspeakably obscene inhumanity of war blares into our ears and our hearts. And then we turn and run. We run into a wall, the same wall we visit each Lent, trying to get around a gate called truth, trying to go from Palm Sunday straight to Easter morning, trying to keep from going into that courtyard where we must answer whether we know him or not, trying to keep from going anywhere near that cross. So give us the palms and give us a parade. But oh God, whisk us right from Palm Sunday to that great getting up morning. Have our Easter baskets filled and waiting for us, oh God, because this year we are tired and we're scared. And we just want a little peace and quiet. And so we turn and run. Or we kneel and pray for mercy and for miracles, and the eyes to see this Jesus named Emmanuel. The eyes to see that God is with us.
Our next reading is from Mark, chapter 11, verses 15 through 19. Then they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He was teaching and saying, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations,' but you have made it a den of robbers." And when the chief priests and the scribes heard it, they kept looking for a way to kill him, for they were afraid of him, because the whole crowd was spellbound by his teaching. And when evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. And if you'll open your gray hymnals for the responsive reading, number 622. And I'll read the regular text, and you all will respond with the words in italics. Good Friday. They brought Jesus to the place of a skull.
They offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he would not take it.
They crucified him and divided his clothes among them, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him.
Those who passed by cried and saying, "Save yourself."
Those who were crucified with him also taunted him.
And when it was noon, darkness came over the whole land.
At At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
And Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last.
Now it is time for the offering, a free gift to a free church. Many gifts, and together build one church community. Please be seated. Now let us join in our next hymn. Back to your red hymnal. It's a bit of an adventure today. Still with Thee, hymn number 37. We run, says Ann Weems, into a wall, trying to get around a gate called truth. Trying to go from Palm Sunday straight to Easter morning. Trying to keep from going into that courtyard where we must answer whether we know him or not. We run into a wall, trying to get around a gate called truth. Now, I was talking to a friend and colleague this week who was having a hard time, and in the course of the conversation, she said to me, I do not think that I can preach the resurrection this Easter. I do not think that I can preach the resurrection this Easter. Now, this was not an intellectual statement on Christology. So before we all start parsing out what resurrection means and what our personal Christology can sustain, whether our personal Christology can sustain a statement like this, let's take a moment instead to turn off our self-consciously rational minds to hear what she's really saying. I cannot preach the resurrection this Easter. I cannot see new life in the midst of the loss that surrounds me. I cannot see the silver lining in this cloud. I cannot put on the strong or the happy face no matter how much I or others would like me to. That is what she's saying. And it is an authentic position at times for people of faith. A position of desperation and of grief. Some psalms, particularly the ones we might hear or read during Lent, carry the line, my soul is cast down within me. My soul is cast down within me. You might even remember that one. But the 22nd psalm, frequently read on Good Friday, declares, I am a worm and not human, scorned by others and despised by the people. I am a worm and not human, scorned by others and despised by the people. Not preaching resurrection, not living into resurrection, is more than just an expression of momentary sadness. It is a reference to the periods in life when we are not sure we will ever get up again. Now that is a feeling that many of us have experienced in our lives. And it is a feeling that some of us might be experiencing right now, might be in the midst of this feeling. And this time, this Holy Week is about that feeling. It is a ritual acknowledgement that one true part of life is struggle. And pretending that it isn't doesn't make the struggle go away. So in the midst of all the complications of our Holy Week moments, moments of darkness and doubt whenever they come to us, in the midst of those moments, we know that it is important to live them, to have lived them, to know their place in our history. But it isn't easy, is it? It's not easy. It takes effort. It takes dedication to travel through to the other side. Now, the secular and commercial powers try to promise us an easy road, offering to fill our dark and difficult times with work, with busyness, and the shallow joy of exciting new products. The Buddhist thinker Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that there is a deep malaise in society, a kind of vacuum inside of us, and we attempt to fill it by eating, he says, reading, talking, smoking, drinking, watching TV, and overworking. Frankly, all meaningful faith traditions recognize this, knowing that a healthy spirit requires us to live into our valleys as well as into our peaks. So in our tradition, on Palm Sunday and during Holy Week, we affirm this human tension. We affirm this human tension between death and life, between absence and presence, between winter and spring. Sometimes people look at faith communities and they think we are obsessed with death, when in reality we are concerned with living an authentic life in the midst of life's brevity. So while Easter, with its promise of new life, is the crucial point in our liturgical calendar, the cross and Holy Week in general reflect both the power of and the resistance to the human facts of suffering and death. Fact is that we cannot have a resurrection without a death. We cannot have a resurrection without a death. And resurrection is resistance. Resurrection is resistance. We cannot be authentically human without recognizing the cycle of darkness and light that governs our lives. Now, this struggle of life arrives in as many varieties as there are people. However, we can, if we wish, put them into two broad categories: public or communal struggles, and private or personal ones. Public ones and private ones. And even though modern society has done its best to internalize and individualize religion, making it a set of private beliefs that to greater or lesser extent are meant to govern our lives in ways that don't challenge the system. Even though society expects us to internalize our faith, the Bible itself is mostly concerned with the public category. In our story today, Jesus starts with a celebration of sorts. But it too is as much an act of resistance, of struggle, as anything else. It is a procession for Passover, a holy day for an oppressed and occupied people. In our reading today, the one that comes right after the procession into Jerusalem, he and his friends make their way to the temple and trash the stalls of the money changers. My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of thieves. I think we all know that line. It's a good one. Now, money changers here is a quaint and time-specific way of saying banks. Jesus and the disciples attacked the banks set up in the holy places. That, attacking banks, is the sort of thing that gets you arrested, not the niceties of systematic theology. To the early Christians, Jesus was a public revolutionary. In the words of Weems, the one who brings good news to the poor, freedom to the oppressed, sight to the blind, the Holy One who says, "Feed my sheep." And these days, I think we understand the urge to turn over the tables and start anew, perhaps with a society built on better principles, one where we can trust our leaders, one where financial gain and quest for power do not poison the pulse, one where all voices are heard and respected. And some of us act, speak out, and vote. Some of us here act, speak out, and vote to turn over the status quo, to topple the tables, to try and make this world into the commonwealth of heaven. But I think we know that not all our fights are public-facing. There is indeed a private, personal element to Holy Week as well. Because in real life, the public and the private are interconnected, intertwined with each other. That malaise in society that Thich Nhat Hanh talks about creates a malaise inside each of us. A malaise inside each of us. We began this sermon by remembering that we have personally walked some dark roads. We have struggled with anger, addiction, illness, loss, powerlessness, pain, fear, and on and on. Weems writes about the taunting, blood-spattered face of war, but she also says what it does to us, tempting us to despair. The world can be a hard place, and it often is. That war can be in our hearts, as well as on our TV sets and outside our doors. The money changers, with their burdens, drives, and assumptions of our relative worth, are just as able to take up residence in our minds and our souls as they are to take up residence in the town square. So, as we enter yet another Holy Week in preparation for Easter, we must think of who has set up for business in our outer lives and our inner lives. Think about which of those businesses needs to go. We are reminded this Holy Week that, in the words of Weems, we all have our courtyards, those times and places we face like Peter. Which is to say, we all have moments when we must decide which path to take. Times of despair, a natural part of existence, and times when we can slowly, gently lift up our eyes and raise our prostrate souls. This week we acknowledge the difficulties and darkness in society and in ourselves. This Holy Week we dare to cleanse the temple, to risk a death for a resurrection later on. So whatever you are struggling with today, or whatever you have struggled with in the past, or will struggle with in the future, remember that you are not alone. Remember that the journey can be taken together, together with the divine and with each other, with those we love and who love us. And so we wait this Palm Sunday, watching for our Easter mornings, whenever and wherever they arrive. Amen. Please now turn to your great hymn book, number 205, for Amazing Grace. Please rise.
Amen.
Keep alert, stand firm in your faith. Be courageous, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love.